Unless your day job has one of these titles, it is not your job to save anybody. Let's go down the list. Unless you are a firefighter, a police officer, a doctor, or a nurse. Heck, unless you work in some type of medical space and field where you literally have people, I'm talking about EMTs, unless you're that type of individual working within that space, within those allotted hours, it is not your job to save anybody. Now, unless you run by a burning building and you have the desire as well as the capability to save that person from that burning building or those people, those kittens and them dogs, unless you are that person in that situation, it's not your job to save anybody. Now, this is coming directly from a recovered people pleaser. I am now on the other side of people pleasing, and I can tell you firsthand that I spent a majority of my life believing with this true concept, true belief system, story arc was playing in my head that it is my job to save other people. Added on top of that, I had the religious programming. So literally, I was trying to save you. I was trying to save you from hell as well as save you from yourself. I was trying to save you from damn near anything in your environment, whether immediate or not. I felt it was my job and my responsibility to save those around me. And so the people in my life were not friends necessarily. They were not even acquaintances. Instead, they were projects. Right? I treated everybody in my life like some sort of project. So if I saw that you were quote unquote broken and that you needed fixing, I welcomed you into my experience. I remember a time when I was around 19, 20 years old, and there was this woman who would literally bring her daughter. Well, I mean, I was cool with her daughter, but she would literally bring her daughter to my house, who was a year younger than me, just to make sure that her daughter was not using drugs. So I basically was being used as like a halfway house for this woman, because even at the age of 19, 20, I had that temperament. I had that mentality that it is my job to save. And so the universe could have helped but bring me situations and circumstances where I had to save people, where I had to keep an eye on people, where I had to work on people. And guess what? I was miserable. Now, I might have not admitted it then, right? Because I felt some sense of gratification from doing such. I felt some sense of validation in the moment. But if you saw my true internal state day to day, it was one of anxiety. I was perpetually feeling as if I was not enough. So there was inadequacy that was playing out, right? These were the true emotions that I harbored on a day-to-day basis, based off the belief that if I don't save you, if I am not able to save you from whatever predicament you're in, I'm not good enough. And that's what that's about. That's what people pleasing is about. People pleasing is not this charitable, altruistic type of mentality. To people please is literally to do things for other people in order for them to see you in a certain light. You want to be viewed a certain way so you can get their sense of approval, validation, whatever title you may want to put on top of that, right? You are looking for other people's quote unquote love, and the means in which you use is people pleasing. The means in which you use is your martyrdom, right? Your savior complex. You go out into the world and you try to save everybody, and it's very ironic because I literally exist in a space that may seem as if I'm out to save people. Well, guess what? My intentions have actually shifted from the time I stepped into my purpose, doing what I do now, coaching, teaching, writing the books, etc. I actually feel less of an obligation for somebody to change than ever before. I know that my only job is to give you the truth, and your job is to respond to it however you choose to respond to it. That's it. My job is not to make sure you get it. My job is not to hopefully fix or curate or create a pathway for you. No, none of that. Yes, I got the courses. Yes, I got the books. But if you enroll yourself or you get a copy of one of those, it is still going to be your job to execute. At the end of the day, you are the only one who can save yourself from yourself. Guess what? You do have a person who is sent here to save you. You do. Every single one of us do. And they came here with you the day you were born. That's right. On your very birthday, the literal day of your birth, the person who came with that one sole responsibility came with you. And that person is the one you can see in a mirror. If you do not have that capability, then you can feel them. You can sense them out on a daily basis. They're right there with you. And their name is fill in the blank of whatever your first name is. That's right. So when we find ourselves in a state of perpetual fixing, perpetual treating people as projects, getting in this state of mind where we believe that the only place we can derive worthiness from is utility, or the only place where we can get our sense of worthiness from is feeling as if we're useful. I recently filmed a video called, "Do You Have the Need to Be Needed?" Make sure to go check that one out. It's fire, as usual. but the need to be needed. Most of us move through life with this perpetual state of needing to be needed. I see my life as just a utility for everybody else. I see myself as a tool that needs to be used. And that's the only way in which I feel valued and validated. Now, don't get me wrong. I am an advocate of purpose. I believe your purpose is the reason why you are here. That's why it's literally called your purpose, right? Why are you here? Why do you exist? And I believe a large part of that purpose is to give your gift to the world. But it is not your responsibility to force feed anything that you have into anybody else's life. Like, let's say you're a comedian, right? You were given the gift to tell jokes, to lighten up a room, to lighten up a mood, to tell truths through humor. That is your gifting. It is not your job to force people to think you are funny. It is not your job to force people to get the message that you're giving. Some people are going to hear you, they're going to be offended. Some people will hear you and they won't listen at all. They could care less. Some people are going to listen to you and think you're not funny. And that's okay. It's not your job to force feed anything to anybody. And that was one of the toughest lessons for myself, because I would see people in my life and I would think, well, I got the answers. I know exactly what will help, right? I was an addict too. I know exactly what to do. Ooh, I was a people pleaser too. I know exactly what to do. Ooh, I was a codependent. I know exactly. Oh man, I had no self-love, but now I'm filled with that self. I know exactly what you need. But instead of trying to force feed it, push it into the lives of others, which is a failing recipe every single time, I've come to realize and accept. Those are two different things, right? You first realize, and sometimes you can choose not to accept, but I've finally chosen to accept the reality that it is not my job. As a matter of fact, I will make it a point to let that person know if somebody's coming in as a project, because some people will come up in your life, especially if you've been this person. They got so used to it. The energy that you give is of that savior, that people pleaser complex. If that is you and people are still coming to you, that's going to be your testing moment. That's going to be your, I guess you would say, your line in the sand, right? We'll call it a boundary. Sometimes that's not even enough because we water that word down a whole lot, right? You are literally drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, this is parameter. This is it. Nothing is passing. You shall not pass, right? Up until this point, I can't do nothing for you. If you're not willing to do for yourself, I can't do anything for you. If you're coming to me with pity parties, I'm not attending those parties. I am here with solutions, or I'm here with a listening ear, right? But I'm not going to be here trying to be your savior. I'm not going to drag you to the finish line. I'm not going to sit here and pity you all the way to the pool or whatever. They say you can lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. So I'm not going to drag you all the way to the pool and then dunk your head in the water. That's not my job. And that's not my intention. My truest intention is that you figure it out for yourself. And that should be the way in which we carry all the relationships that we have. Because I know it's difficult. I know. Trust me. I get it. I've been in a state before where I thought to myself, man, if only they would understand what they're doing in themselves. If only they would understand the power that they have within themselves. If only they would unlock those aspects of themselves, just like I am discovering within myself. If only, right? And instead of saying, well, I believe that I should do something about this, I simply do my part, which is to tell the truth, to hold space, and that's it. Like Peter Sage says, right? If you don't know who Peter Sage is, make sure to check him out. Dope. He says that your job is to be a reflection, right? So to be the example. So if it's a person who is dealing with dis-ease in their body, an ailment per se, you just act as that state of health. Or be that state of health, right? Just be a model of it. That's it. Just model it out. Because we do as we see, not necessarily do as we hear. It is only some individuals who can take a lesson and integrate it. But all of us can take a lesson, right? Seeds are sown. And once something happens in our lives, then the lesson is finally known. That's a bar right there. Some Edgar Allan Poe type, Dr. Seuss type stuff. So I'm about to cut. I'm about to be out of here. But before I do, I want to plug a guilt-free plug of my first published book, Doing Me Guilt-Free. Make sure to get yourself a copy of one of these. This is the book I wish I had at 7 years old, 17 years old, at 27 right now, and all the sevens for the rest of my life. 107, I'm still going to be reading this joint right here. This is the one. Trust me. Get yourself a copy by clicking the link in the description below. Directly to Amazon, directly to your doorstep, period. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Peace.